Mind continues with Eric Severide.
Something that always bothered me in recent years, traveling around in Latin America, for example, I think you've written something about it. I never really could put it the way you have, but the special talent for maintenance. Now, you go to Brazil and they'll build a big city like Brasilia. It's gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, the washbowls are coming out of the plaster and the whole thing is going down. Does this have something to do with the stamina quality?
Absolutely. Mr. Severide, after the last war, while Western Europe was in ruin, I thought to myself, if the president should pick me and send me to Europe to predict which country is going to recover first, I would get the answer in 5 minutes.
Germany?
I would say, bring me the records of maintenance. The nation with the best maintenance will recover first. I should go to Africa and want to tell you which of these 30-some nations is going to be here 50 years from now. In a warehouse, let's say. And I saw that the broom had a special, I would say, this is the nail of, that's it. See? And maintenance is something very, very specifically Western. You haven't got it anywhere else. And this is something that we have, and I don't think that a nation really becomes modernized. A nation really becomes renovated unless it acquires this capacity for maintenance. And they haven't got it. They haven't got it in Russia. They haven't got it anywhere outside that narrow Western Europe.
Tell me a bit, you're living here in San Francisco,
yeah,
where you've got all the hippies or beatniks, whatever they call them now, these kids who seem to want to retire from the normal
That's right.
life that most of us live in. Do you think there's any chance they've really got something here, that they are a prophetic minority?
If it wasn't for the question of drugs, I would be all for the hippies, because it's a healthy reaction against the rat race. And now with automation coming on there, we have to know how to enjoy leisure. And this is a very healthy reaction, except for the drugs. Now, we don't know what the drugs are going to do to many of them. How many of them are going to be flawed? How many of them are going to be destroyed? How many of them are going to be wasted? Because this is a transitory period.
The fact they go to these drugs must tell something about
No, it doesn't tell
strength
nothing,
and weakness,
because
doesn't it?
history is made by example. Somebody started. And you are not going to explain things that happened because there was a real need for it. Because history is made by example, by third-rate or even fourth-rate people who are anonymous, who are buried in unmarked and unvisited graves. To me, always, whenever I see something new coming up in history, see, I'm always certain, you know, somebody was there, somebody we don't know nothing about, and I know it from my own life. You take, for instance, have you ever been in San Joaquin Valley?
Yes,
Yeah.
briefly.
You know, there's a whole string of towns there. You have Turlock, Modesto, Madeira, Merced. I want to show you how I generalize about history from small experiences that happened to me. See, trivial things. Now, all these towns have the same climate, the same economical conditions. They raise the same crops. But only Modesto has the most beautiful lawns in Christendom. Nowhere in the world are you going to find such beautiful lawns. The whole town is just covered with lawns. The people don't seem to be doing nothing but mow the lawn. If the lawn starts to shift, to break up the sidewalk, nobody stops them. They go. The Parks Commission of the city bred a special ash tree that sheds all its leaves in 1 week so it won't dirty the lawn. Now, how come the lawns of Modesto? Turlock hasn't got it, Merced hasn't got it, Madeira hasn't got it. Now, if I was a sociologist, I probably would do research. I don't know what I would do. I didn't know what to do. I had a hunch, you know, that what a scientist does is counting. So I counted the churches, plenty chiropractors. But what the hell connection could there be between churches and chiropractors and law? And then I had a hunch. I went to the cemetery, and I looked up the oldest graves. The people came from Essex, Wessex, just where the lawns were invented. See? And this is the way things get started. And so, when we talk about the hippies, don't attribute the need, the drug habit, out of any need. Somebody started it.
Why is it that they so detest the middle class? Is that always true of the young?
Well, you know, no country is a good country for its juveniles, you know. Anytime you have to adjust yourself to a situation, it's one of the chief characteristics of the human uniqueness is that instead of changing yourself, you want to change the thing that you are supposed to adjust yourself to. See? And so I would say that the young are against their parents, and if their parents are middle class. But the main thing is now that the young are assuming the intellectual's attitude, you know, and the intellectual, you know, has always been against the middle class, all through the 19th century. See? The intellectuals entered the 19th century convinced that they were going to make history, because haven't they made the French Revolution?
Well, then the Industrial Revolution produced this middle class that they resented.
Yeah,
so,
but they didn't know that there was an Industrial Revolution. You know, you read about the intellectuals the first decade of the 19th century. Oh, you ought to see the pictures. Everyone was a potential Napoleon. He had his hand in his coat, and he had that little lock there. And they were going to make history. And then one morning they woke up, and they found out that their lowbrow relatives, their uncles, their fathers and brothers, the lowbrow brothers, have grabbed possession of everything in sight, and they were the ruling class. And the rage of the intellectuals has been such that this is, to me, the only explanation of what was going on in the 19th and the 20th century. The Cold War started somewhere in the middle of the last century. And the intellectuals are winning the Cold War now against the middle class, you know. The middle class is being destroyed not by the masses, it's not being destroyed by the aristocrats. You know, Napoleon really had a hunch of it. And he predicted, he said, cannon destroyed the feudal society. Ink will destroy the middle class society.
Well, it seems to me that middle class society here grows bigger and bigger, that the laboring class people come up
in this country and probably everywhere. This is the effect of Americanization. And I've been watching it closely. When American influence started to penetrate into Britain, into Germany, I wanted to see what happens first. You would think that a business civilization like America, supposedly a business civilization, that if it penetrates the country, the first people to be influenced by it would be the businessmen. But it's not true. The first people to be influenced are the common people. Something happens to their backbone. Straighten up. In other words, if I use I would say that the first effect of Americanization is the deproletarianization of the working man. He ceased to be a proletarian. He thinks he's as good as anybody else. He wants to look like everybody else. He wants to live like everybody else. You know, the first effect of Americanization on a country is that the working men insist on having lockers and shower baths in the factory. They want to change into street clothes when they get out of the factory. And so they couldn't recognize he's a working man unless you look at his head.
This is something new in history, isn't it?
Absolutely. The only new thing in history is America. It's blasphemous to say that, you know. But it's true. It's true. And you know, when I talk about common people in America to some of the professors there, you know what I feel? I feel that I'm talking about a mysterious people living on a mysterious continent. They don't know nothing about us. Nothing! We are just a bunch of saps. They tell us how to vote. They tell us how to do everything there. Although we elected Roosevelt 4 times in the teeth of all the newspapers, in the teeth of Wall Street. Although we elected Truman when all the newspapers said that Dewey was elected, it doesn't convince them. We still are... you ought to hear on the campus here at the University of California, when these young two-bit intellectuals talking about the masses, they call them the Pavlovian dogs. They call them the mindless masses. It makes me furious. What the hell do these people know about us? How dare they write books about us? Now, let me tell you something. Who amongst these great intellectuals could have predicted that a machine politician patronized by the lowlands here in Oakland would become Chief Justice Earl Warren? You remember when Earl Warren was picked as Chief Justice, what a nervous breakdown all the intellectuals had. Oh, look who is becoming a Chief Justice. And yet we are the most mysterious people in the world. What do they know what's inside us? Who could have predicted that a hack politician endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan will become Justice Black? What do they know about us? How dare they write books about us?
You also elected Ronald. Does this change anything?
Fine. We make mistakes, and we can unmake them. And as I told you, the Ronald Reagan there, he's going to go down. You know, he's a B-picture hero. He has a mortal hatred against A-pictures. He wants to turn California into a B-picture to be run on a B-picture budget, if he can help it. See? But California is not a B-picture. No. California is an A-picture, whether Reagan wants or not. See? And we're going to shake him